Okay. Chris, can you see me and hear me okay?
Certainly can, Mayor, and you're able to go whenever you wish.
Okay. So I'll start by saying, guys, I really appreciate everybody taking the time to jump on this on short notice. Obviously, it's been a busy day, and I've been getting lots of requests from a variety of media sources there looking for some feedback. And I wanted to take the opportunity to hold a forum, something like this, because then I can get back to you all in the same kind of amount of time and you all get the same message. So with that, I just have to try and do the Zoom screen at the same time here. And so I'll get started. So first off, late last night, we received a letter from the Driftpile Cree Nation and their disappointment on comments that were made at a recent Slave Lake Town Council meeting and demanded an apology from one of our councillors. Councillor McGregor provided a written statement this morning via her Facebook page, and it was displayed on the Town of Slave Lake website earlier today. The Town of Slave Lake would like to start by apologizing to the Indigenous communities near and far that we have left you with the impression that this is the way our council thinks and how we base our decisions. We are sorry you don't have a clear picture of what our people, our community, and our council are all about and what we stand for. But I promise that we are going to do our best to show you in the weeks ahead. We are truly sorry for the hurt, emotional pain, and attacks that the people of Slave Lake have had to face over the past few days. At this point, our community needs the opportunity to heal. Our next steps will be to reach out to our neighbors who also have a vital role to play in the development of Slave Lake's future for their input and advice. We need to see what steps our council can take to learn from this experience and not only grow as a council, but as a community. We also recognize that our region is bigger than the boundaries of the Town of Slave Lake, and that we grow as a region because we are supported by our neighboring municipalities, First Nations, and Métis settlements. In addition, we believe we still have a lot of work to do in helping those in need. The Slave Lake Native Friendship Center is currently in the middle of a project that will collect data on some of those groups in need and help our community to better understand how large or diverse these groups are and what resources are required to get them help. Council looks forward to that information being released next month. So at that point, I would say that I'm definitely ready for any questions.
Okay, so we first have Rochelle from City News Edmonton. If you can unmute and then ask your questions.
Okay, thank you. Do you think what McGregor said was racist, and do you condone her comments?
No, obviously, I think that those comments were not correct, and I think that Councillor McGregor has spoke up and apologized for those. Whether or not they're racist or not, I don't think that's a position for me to understand or take. I understand that our community needs to do a lot of work to understand where we went wrong and to move forward. And I don't think anyone is surprised by the fact that we recognize that there's an apology needs to be made and that we need to move forward. I think more than anything, that's what we want to do.
But do you think that what she said, was that racist?
I don't think it was appropriate the way it was worded, no. But I also think that our council has been struggling for a long time with some of the issues that our community is facing. In the context of all of that and her trying to get that information out, I definitely think she started with some poor choice of wording, but I also think she recognizes that.
So just to clarify, you don't think what she says was racist?
I think what she said was not appropriate. And I'm not justified. I don't have the expertise to tell you what's racist and what isn't.
Thank you, Rochelle. And now we're going to go to Kashmala from CBC Edmonton. Kashmala? Oh, she just came on. Kashmala, if you want to ask your two questions, you can. Okay, we are going to pass Kashmala and we're going to go to Min from CBC. Min, your line is open.
Hi, thanks, Mayor Warman, for taking my question. I'm just wondering, like, the blowback that has happened in light of these comments, what has that been like for you and council, having to deal with, people from your community as well as the surrounding communities?
Well, I think that people were offended. I think people were very upset, and with respect, I think they have a right to be. I think we gave them the wrong impression as a council. And I think we need to do a better job of illustrating who we are. Obviously, the phones, emails, texts, social media stuff has been, off the roof here. And for a community of 7,000 people, it's a lot for part-time elected officials to deal with. But I think we made some mistakes, and we're owning that, and committed to moving forward. That comes with the job. So. We're not a group to go hide in a corner and wait for a problem to go away. We're willing to take it head on, and I think that's what we're doing.
Do you think there's at a point here you meet with, the chief of Driftpile Nation, Dwayne Laboucan, has said that, his community may boycott or is planning to boycott, even in spending money or doing business with Slave Lake. I mean, what more do you have to, I guess, say or show them to turn that around and to make everybody feel like they're welcome at Slave Lake?
Yeah, well, first off, I would say that, we've put out some written apologies. I've done some video stuff that's come out today. I firmly believe that that's a start, but it's definitely, no one should feel like we're done. So I think I haven't spoken to Chief Laboucan. He hasn't contacted me. But we did receive their letter, and we will be reaching out to them, as well as many of our other neighbors, to have some deeper discussions on how we move forward. Slave Lake is very successful because we're very regionally focused, and we know that we need to work with our partners to achieve success. And so we'll continue to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Min. Now we will go to Sarah Ryan from Global News Edmonton. Sarah, you are open. Sarah, your mic is off. We cannot hear you. We still cannot hear you. Nope. We are still having mic issues. Okay, we are just gonna go on to the next person. We'll come back to you to see if your mic will work then, okay? So the next question is for Sean Amato from CTV News. Sean, if you want to ask your question, go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for taking our questions today. I wanted to ask you if you believe that there's a systemic racism problem in the town of Slave Lake, and particularly on your council. There are a lot of people on social media saying that they agree with Councillor McGregor, and you were on council, and a number of councillors sat there and watched her make those statements and didn't say anything. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so, obviously, I think the whole world is sitting here judging every comment we made, every action that we took, and every action that we didn't take. And they're going to continue to do that for some time. Do I think there's systematic racism within Slave Lake? No, but I don't think there's any community or in anywhere in the world right now can say that they don't have some form of racism within their communities. And so I recognize that we have work to do. We sat around, and to add some context to that discussion, was around if you listen to all of that, some of the background that we've had has been around this homelessness issue is not just about people with homelessness. It's about people with other problems that come to our community. And so, her thought was, actually I shouldn't speak for her, so I'm not going to. Like, to answer your question, I don't think our community is very much different than any other community that's out there. But we're working hard to get it done.
So I watched both of your video statements prior to this, and at no point did you say that Ms. McGregor's comments were wrong. You apologized for the impression they left, but you didn't necessarily come out and say what she said was wrong. Do you believe that what she said was wrong?
Yeah, I don't think her comments were appropriate by any means. And so I think she's already spoken to that, and she's apologized for that. And so for me to apologize again for her or condemn her for what she said, I don't think that's the role that I should take as the leader of this community.
Why isn't she here? And what was she invited by you and the communications folks to be here today?
Our community has always been, and it's set up in the fact that the mayor is the spokesperson for the town of Slave Lake. I am here to speak for the town of Slave Lake. Councillor McGregor has already given her feedback and has had to experience some very personal attacks, and she's taking some time now to herself, but I think her message has been shared out there. She apologizes for what she said. We apologize as a community for what was said and what was heard. The message that we're trying to convey to all the communities and people out there is that's not who we are. That's not what we're about. And we're going to keep learning, evolving, and doing better. So.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Sean. Can I just ask all the reporters to leave their video off just for the live stream on YouTube? That'd be greatly appreciated. We are going to go back to Kashmala. Her mic is not working, but she wanted to ask, was the mayor present when those comments were made? And if yes, did he believe they were wrong?
Yes, like if you watch the video, I believe off the top of my head, all of our council was there when that was had. It was a long discussion about homelessness and vagrancy in these different populations that we continue to not understand, but are looking forward to some discussions with the Friendship Center, who was in the midst of, gathering a bunch of that data to help us figure that out. Yeah, and I will own that maybe I should have said something more then. I will own that maybe I should have spoke up and said that that's not appropriate. I guess that is my role as the chair and the leader of that group. And I admit, and when I make these statements here in my videos and my wording that I put out there, that I have to own some of that stuff and I have to do better as well. And so I commit to doing that. Like I'm not here with a false show here for anything. I'm not doing this because it's politically correct. I'm doing it because it is correct, because we've been called out for something that we should have done better on, and we agree. So we're going to continue to do that.
This question is from Sarah Ryan because of the audio issue as well from Global News Edmonton. Piggybacks on the question that was just asked. Does the mayor wish he would have spoken up right away at the meeting on September 8th? In the future, if other words were used inappropriately, will he?
Totally. I think I just said that again, and I'll say it again, that I need to learn from that as well, right? That wasn't just a Councillor McGregor experience. That was a Town of Slave Lake experience. And I think we all learned as council that we need to work on our wording. We need to work on our understanding. Part of Truth and Reconciliation is about education, but part of it's about owning that mistakes are made and that we need to move forward. And I will say that that's the path that we have always been on. We have made missteps along the way, and we are going to continue to make missteps as we try, because when you're trying to do something, at some point you're going to succeed and some point you're going to fail. So yes, I will do better. I will learn from this experience, and it's going to take more than just me saying that we're going to do it. We're going to have some conversations, some tough conversations as a group. We're going to have some conversation, get some help and some education from the outside, but we are going to move forward and grow.
Next reporter is Jamie from CBC Edmonton, Fort McMurray. Jamie, you can ask your question. Jamie, are you on the line? I see you there, just might be having mic issues. Okay, we will move into the next question. Joe McWilliams from Lakeside Leader. Joe, or the Lakeside Leader, if you're on the line, you can ask your question. Okay, so as we've just gone through the first round and we're having some issues. Jamie is just asking, have you reached out to any of the leaders from the surrounding communities to talk about reconciliation?
No, obviously we just got this from Driftpaw Cree Nation last night. And so actually, I'd have to do the math here, but I think it was less than 24 hours ago. So you can see that we've had some deeper discussions internally as a council. We're working on some of our communication here out to the world right now. In the coming days, we will be reaching out to many of these leaders of both First Nations, municipalities and Métis settlements to discuss a path forward and work on some reconciliation, help with some education, as well as share some of the struggles that we're in and get some advice on how to deal with them. So that is the goal of council and always has been.
Awesome. So as that was the last reporter, we're going to start back up with Rochelle from City.
Sorry, Chris, this is Carlisle at CTV. Is it all right if I get one question in?
Oh, sorry. I missed you, Carlisle. I apologize. You can have your 2 questions. I do apologize for that.
No worries. I actually just have one for the mayor. And it's sort of, I know you've talked a little bit about the Friendship Center, and I know there was a rezoning application that was recently denied. I'm wondering if that a similar application or to that, where it would, bring in some transitional housing to that facility, or projects that can help the homeless population in Slave Lake. Is that something that'll be revisited? I know it's ongoing work, but that particular application for transitional housing, is that something being considered?
At this time, I don't believe it is. So first off, we have to understand a little bit of background. So let's add that. I don't think there's 2 parts to that. One is the MAP program. And one is transitional housing. So first off, I don't think the majority of our community even understands what transitional housing is anyway. And so I think that we're going to have to work with the Friendship Center on some education on what that is, so the community knows what it's getting into. I think a lot of the opposition comes from the fact that the community doesn't know what it's getting into. And so although there was a large group that spoke in favor of this program, there's also a lot of people that it directly affected in that neighborhood that spoke against it. Additional to that, a portion is the MAP program, and this is something we see in the winter months. It's championed by our Slave Lake Native Friendship Center. I've been around for a few years, and it's been held in different locations. The most recent location was at the Friendship Center itself, and so they felt that location didn't fit. They thought about putting it in this one, and some community pushback. That being said, getting back to the application at hand, this was about zoning. And so what was debated was changing the zoning, and council, the majority of council felt that zoning change was not required or desired at this point. And so as we move forward, I think that we need to work more directly with the Friendship Center to find a long-term solution that works for both them and the community. And I will say, like, we don't have that figured out. I met with the Friendship Center as on Friday, and it's a tough one to figure out for sure. I think right now, most importantly, we need just to understand, because there's a lot of variation in the different groups, and we're not quite sure how many people are in each group. And so if we really want to come up with a comprehensive plan to help with a variety of these issues, we need to know what we're getting ourselves into. So the Friendship Center is championing kind of an inventory, a study of that right now, that they're hoping to have the data collected by the end of this month. And so hopefully in December, we'll have a better idea and can plan a path forward.
Is there any follow-up, Carlisle?
No, I'm good. Thanks very much. That answered my question.
Awesome. Now, just for a second round, Rochelle from City News Edmonton, do you have any follow-ups?
Yeah, just one. Why haven't you called up any nearby Indigenous communities that McGregor was referring to apologize? It's been 2 months since those comments were made.
Well, I'll be honest and say that this has only really come to light in the last few days. And so in fairness, behind the scenes, I have talked to some of the leaders of some of these communities and let them know that that's not how our council thinks. That's not how we behave, that we need to do better. I've talked to some of the residents of some of those communities that have reached out to me directly over the last couple of days. But I think we need to be targeted in our response, and we are going to be reaching out to them. So yes, I agree and recognize that this happened 2 months ago, but it really only came to light in the last few days just how big a mistake I think that we made, and so we're working to rectify that.
Yeah, how can you say it only came to light in the last few days when you were there 2 months ago and you heard what she said?
Because I was looking at it in the context of everything that we've been discussing and some of the problems that we've had. And once again, I will recognize that I made a mistake as well. I own some of that, and I need to move forward.
Thank you, Rochelle. And now we're going to go to Kashmala. Do you have a follow-up? If you do, type it in, because I know your mic wasn't working there for a few minutes. Which I don't see one. Min from CBC, do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, Mayor, I would just ask, I mean, you know, if people were supporting what, from the town, were supporting what Councillor McGregor had to say, is this maybe a chance or an opportunity where maybe council, you know, has some sensitivity training on, you know, these kind of statements being wrong and not being appropriate and why they're not appropriate, and, you know, maybe trying to understand where these communities are coming from and what issues they are facing?
Oh, agreed. You know, I think that's part of the education part that I talked about earlier, that, you know, talking about some education, talking about some training will be items that council will discuss in the days ahead and figure out the right path forward. I think that a number of people, and if you see some of the social media and the feedback and stuff that's been out there, there is some support for what Councillor McGregor said, but I think you're interpreting wrong if you think people are supporting what she said. I think more than that, people are supporting Councillor McGregor. So she's a well-known figure within her community who works hard, does amazing work, and is really passionate about helping people. She has so much heart, it's crazy, and very proud of her for that. I think she made a mistake in the words that she used, and I think council made a mistake by not correcting her and taking so long to deal with this. But I don't think that support should be viewed as support for what she said, but more support for about the person that she is. And so one of the things I've said as we move along here is that it is truly my hope is that the world is going to look at us with a lens that they look at us for the sum of all of our actions, and not just one thing that we say or one mistake that we made. So I think that's a true measure of showing that we are actually all in it together and we are moving forward.
Min, do you have a follow-up, or is that good?
That's good. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Perfect. This question is from Sarah Ryan from Global News Edmonton, because her mic's not working, and I'll ask it. Mayor, I appreciate you don't have a solution to homelessness or a full picture of the issue. But with the winter weather here now, the MAP program only has space for 17 people. Yet they believe there may be nearly double what number of homeless in Slave Lake. What is the solution now? What if 25 people need shelter tonight? Where should they go?
Yeah, I'll be the first to say I don't have an answer. We're working with the Friendship Center on that. And the executive director and I met as just on Friday here to try and chart a path forward. Rural municipalities don't get a lot of funding for this, so we have to figure out how we deal with it. So they have secured some funding, as an example, that comes from the government, that they get money for operational, but don't actually get any money for a building. So essentially, they'll get money for utilities, but they don't actually get any to pay for rent or a building or purchase a building or buy a building or build a building. And so I think we need to work with, you know, most of the facilities that are available in Slave Lake are privately owned. So we need to find a landlord who's interested in basically giving up space for no return. And I think that there actually has been some willingness to do that from some landlords within the community, but the location doesn't fit. If there's not pedestrian traffic, there's not lighting around there. And so I'll be the first to say we don't have an easy answer. We don't have it all figured out. We're going to continue to work with the Friendship Center. Their plan all along was this one building that they were pursuing, and we met with them in June to say, you know, what is the backup plan if this doesn't get the community buy-in? And there wasn't another option. And I don't think it's a result of a lack of planning. It's a result of a lack of options. So the town of Slave Lake is not trying to champion this role. We're trying to work with the champions who do this. And that's the route we are going to continue to take.
Do you have, so the next question is, Sean, do you have a follow-up from CTV News?
Just a quick one. Mr. Mayor, I understand that there might be a meeting in your community tomorrow. Is that meeting regarding this? And if so, what do you expect to happen at that meeting?
No, like tomorrow evening is our regular council meeting. So we have regular council meetings in the first 3 Tuesdays of the month at 7 p.m. And that's the conversation that's been going around that meeting. We have a number of agenda items there to discuss. And we do have a delegation who is coming to talk about some homelessness issues, and they want us to get more involved and have some ideas as a community member. It has nothing to do with the Friendship Center or most of the groups that we're hearing from. So we're always open to hearing from the community. As you can tell, we heard from even the outer community here in the last 24 hours, and we've responded and given feedback. So you know, I think this is a pretty intense, comprehensive issue that's going to need some dedicated time, and the council will have to figure out when that is and recognize that we'll have to do it soon.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Last question for anyone. Is there any follow-ups from anyone? Carlisle, do you have a follow-up question?
Carlisle had to run, so CTV and Sean and Carlisle were all good. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. If there's no other questions, that will be the end of the press conference. I want to thank all the journalists for coming in at short notice. Greatly appreciate it. Mayor, do you have any closing words before we wrap up?
No, I'll just say that in summary, I appreciate you guys taking the time to hear what we have to say. To the people that are listening, I appreciate you taking the time to hear everything that we have to say, and I hope that's what you're doing. I know that we've got work to do. I know that as a community, we made a mistake. As a council, we made a mistake, and we're going to get some help and do better. So bear with us as we learn from this and do better.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you very much, journalist. Have yourself an excellent day. If you have any other follow-up questions, don't be afraid to reach out to me, and I will try to track down the person you want to speak to. Thanks very much, everyone. Have yourself an excellent day.